symphony of love, unbound. Here in the PNW, we go beyond the sound.
Welcome to the Beyond the Sound podcast. I am your host, John Opina, Divisional Music and Gospel Arts Director for the Salvation Army Northwest Division, serving Washington State, Northern Idaho, and Western Montana. And I am joined by my co-host,
Keith Almanza, Assistant Director for the Division.
And this is part 1 of episode 3, where we are joined by special guests Hannah and Zach Smith.
So Zach and Hannah, or Hannah and Zach.
Hello.
Just want to give you a platform to introduce yourselves and tell us, those who don't know you, a little bit about yourselves. So how did you come to join the Army? What is your background? All that.
Yeah, so I'm Hannah, and I've grown up my whole life in the Army. My parents are officers in the Eastern Territory, so just kind of born into it, stuck with it. Currently, I work at the College for Officer Training in the Eastern Territory, which if you heard Summer's explanation, she also explained that too on the last episode. Good friend of Summer's. Hi, Summer. Shout out. A little bit more about me. My background's in social work. I studied social work at Asbury University. I
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles. I currently am on a pretty great trivia team. We go every Tuesday to trivia. We have different names like Eastbound and Down or Winnie the Crew. You know, we try to do fun stuff like that. And I am just now getting into reading. I was not much of a reader, but more recently, I've actually enjoyed reading, which is honestly pretty big for me. I'm really proud of myself. That's me.
And you just finished a run of musical theater.
I did. I just finished a production of Into the Woods back in September.
Yeah.
So
What was your role?
Cinderella's mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How did you come into musical theater?
Thank you.
Hold on, we asked the questions.
I am the youngest of 4 daughters, and all 3 of my older sisters did theater by like the time I was born. So I just kind of grew up watching them do theater, and I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. I like that. And I said this to Zach earlier, and I was debating saying this, but there was a need for like, oh, I want attention a little bit. And this was kind of like a healthy outlet to be the center of attention, being on stage. So no, I love to sing. I love to act. And especially finding musicals in particular was just very fulfilling for me, and did theater all throughout school, a little bit in college, and have just now gotten into a community group here as an adult, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's funny that you went into music because of your siblings, because my story is very similar with my older brothers learning instruments before me, and my middle brother, Richie, he had won I think it was like the top student award at music camp one year, and I was like, nah, that can't be. Like, I gotta be some of that. Before we get to Zach, I do want to follow up with a question. What types of books are you into?
Oh, I like fiction. I just joined a book club. So I read this book called The Women by Kristen Hanna, which is about nurses serving in the Vietnam War. So like historical fiction. We're, reading I think we're going to like fantasy or autobiography next. So I'm kind of exploring some different genres right now, but yeah.
So
like
not
that.
pop-up books, John. They're outside your
Graphic novels.
I don't know.
I had to read a lot for my master's program, and it just threw me off of reading. Like, I'm just done.
Yeah.
I had to read so much. It was, yeah.
Zach, how about you?
Yeah, my name is Zach. I was also born into the Salvation Army, so I've been there since I was a kid. My parents are both officers, and I guess the way that I came into musical theater was more so like I was available, and it was typically they needed like a guy, and I've always been like a bigger kid, so they've been like, oh, we need you to like come and play a bad guy or something like that. So it was usually like I had like guard number 2 or something. And then when I was a kid, I loved comic books, and I wanted to be a comic book artist when I grew up. And there was this program near Brooklyn at Kingsborough College called College for Kids. And my mom found like this drawing class and said, if it's going to be worth like our money and our time for you to go, you should take a second course. She said, why don't you just do acting? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then I ended up like, I hated my drawing class and really was like looking forward to my theater because like too many rules in drawing. Also, I'm bad at it. And I don't know, this is like, there's not a nice way to say this, but like there were a lot of other kids who were, really shy and got stage fright and would like stumble through their lines. And I would just be like, I'll just do it. Like it's not hard. I'll do it. So I've always been like confident and comfortable on stage, and did like a few productions here and there. Kind of punk rock music took over for a nice little stint there, and that's what I was doing through middle school and high school. But then after I graduated, that's when like summer productions and improv groups and stuff like that kind of became more prevalent in my life, and I kind of rediscovered my love for that. So yeah, I was kind of a musical theater kid. I'm more of a musical theater adult, we'll say.
What do you guys do in the East? I know Hannah just said that she works at the CFOT. Zach, do you work at Training College as well?
I do. I work at the CFOT. I'm the youth ministry specialist. So I describe it as I try to make the Sundays that we have the teens for church. I like kind of help write the curriculum and prepare what we're going to do. And that's like my big passion because I love theology, and I think it's important to teach the Bible in a way that can be understood. But that's also, compelling.
Yeah. Have you guys ever done cast?
Yes.
We kind of met on cast.
Yeah, that's kind of how we met.
Oh, awesome. Could you just describe what cast is and what show you guys did?
Yeah, so cast it's over the course of the summer. From basically we would meet up at commissioning in early June. A group of 12 to 15 people, sometimes more or less, of young actors or dancers or musicians would come together, and we would travel the territory for about 4 to 6 weeks up until our version of like Bible meetings in the summer. I'm not sure what you guys call it in the West. But so it's kind of, we start at an Army function, we end at an Army function.
You're talking about Old Orchard camp meetings?
Yeah.
Nice.
We work on a production. So sometimes we would do like a full-length play or musical. Sometimes we would do a series of sketches or movement pieces that were a little more dance-oriented. And yeah, we would travel to different camps or corps, sometimes croc centers. And it was just a really great opportunity to not just perform, but we did a lot of teaching as well. So we would teach a lot of intro to drama classes, or sometimes like if one of us was really good at like playing the bass, they would, do like a praise and worship band and teach bass to the kids at either a day camp, VBS camp, all that sort of stuff.
What shows?
I did cast for 3 summers. First year we did a movement piece about the story of Moses. Second year we did A Wrinkle in Time, and then my third year we did Godspell.
And then we did Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Then we did it again, but because we'd already done it at Old Orchard, they brought in this guy, Doug Berkey, who does like a one-man show with masks and puppets, and he kind of taught us that in 2 days. So we did that as the finale, so we weren't like repeating. And then we did Honk. And then I came back to be the band leader for Godspell.
That's interesting because when I worked at Camp Sebago in 2008, cast came up and they did Godspell.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is really funny in 2008. That's, man, small world.
Is this a Eastern Territory specific thing?
Correct.
That performance is still like legendary amongst like Salvation Army theater kids. The 2008 lineup.
It was great.
Yeah.
Nice. So we, in our podcast series thus far, we always do some sort of ranking. We started with Halloween candy last time we did.
Which I have
Thanksgiving
like one of
plates.
mine here. Little
Yeah, you
snack
do.
size Snickers.
But
size.
before we dive into that pool of ranking, Zach, I wanted to confront you about some recent controversy that you started on at least my Facebook feed, where you shared your ranking of, I think, what was it, movies that you saw, and also, was it M&M specific?
M&M specific. Yeah.
Okay, so I got a bone to pick with you because
Yep.
I think you had Deadpool and Wolverine like really far down there on your list of movies, and I understand superhero fatigue is what it is, but the movie was fantastic.
Well, I'll also say with that movie, I saw it on like a Tuesday morning by myself in an empty theater. So I'm sure a lot of people had said like the theater experience really made it a lot better. But again, just me by myself in an IMAX screening, like I was like, oh, why are we? Oh, because people would be like laughing or cheering.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's fair. That's fair there. I don't remember what other movies you had up front of that, and frankly, I haven't seen a whole lot. I think this last year, but just seeing that so far down, I was a little disappointed. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't mad. I was just disappointed. Now we do have to talk about your ranking of M&M peanut butter because I think that was
That's
a
fair.
S tier list that you had it down on. I don't know, B.
I believe I had it on A instead of S.
Okay.
Because for me, from the S tier, it can't get too crowded for me. That's my like if you have 20 in you've done something wrong.
Do you recall what you had on S tier?
I do. I had crispy M&Ms, which are my personal favorite, and I had pretzel M&Ms.
What are crispy M&Ms? I don't think I've seen that.
They're like the Heath bar almost inside.
Yeah, there's like a little rice crunch going on inside there. I'm a crunch man myself, so I love and like the salty with the pretzel. I like it, although I'll admit sometimes the pretzels are a little bit stale. Peanut butter, like you're right, it probably should have been in there because those are the three that I'm going for if I'm going to have.
But
like
it was a crowding issue is what you wanted
Yeah.
to avoid. But you can have like 10 options
My
on
teeth.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just S. I'm like, that's reserved for like, what am I going to be the most excited about if I find it?
I haven't seen
Like,
crispy
yeah, but I'm
M&Ms
not anywhere.
around in a long time.
I've never
Exactly.
seen them, I don't think.
Like
What color is
that.
the package on that one?
Green. It's like a light green.
Light green, yeah.
I would just assume that's mint probably and never look at it again.
Have you ever tried peanut butter M&Ms with? This is my pairing. I love peanut butter M&Ms with like honey roasted nuts. So like cashews, peanuts, and like for
Like
my
your
long
own trail mix type thing. Yeah, that's the best.
yeah,
Oh,
for
yeah,
like
that's
all these
your-
long drives.
Like your go-to road trip snack, yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Oh.
to mix my M&Ms. I don't know if that's like controversial, but for me, like get the right flavors together. You're gonna have a good time.
Oh, I don't know. It feels like almost like a Russian roulette of of Skittles maybe or jelly beans. Like something I want to know what I'm stepping into, not like
Oh.
what's up here. I don't know. All right, well
I like a little bit.
let us segue then to our rankings for this time around. I think being that you guys are, for lack of a better term, theater kids, we should do a top 3 ranking of your favorite musicals. That could be movie musicals or stage.
Oh,
that's a different.
yeah.
That's different than
Yeah,
what's in
I'm
the
throwing a
album.
wrench in this one.
Uh-oh.
Does that include like
Like a movie adaptation of a musical.
or things that they've brought to life like live action? No.
Like a pro shoot?
Like when they did the live action Little Mermaid, because that was really bad.
Well, the stage production is different though. But if you were to say like the original 89, I think it was Mermaid, then sure, that would work.
Okay, so let's start with Hannah, and then we'll go Keith, and then I'll go, and then Zach will round it out.
Okay.
I guess that's alphabetical order.
Is that?
I didn't think about that.
Okay, they are going to be in no particular order because I don't know if I can rank like 3,
That's
2,
fair.
1.
That's fair.
Definitely for me, The Prince of Egypt
Ooh.
is up there because that music, like, I think I saw on Instagram or TikTok somewhere that there was a person who was in like the top 0.01% listening to the Plagues from the Prince of Egypt soundtrack as their like number one song on Spotify Wrapped. And I was like, if they're number one, then I'm number two.
Yeah.
There's something about that music, and the movie's great. I just love. That's always been like a nostalgic one for me, and I really like that one.
That's a great one. I saw the movie recently, actually, on I think it was on Netflix, maybe. But it just popped up as a recommended. Like, oh well, I have to watch it now.
Like the
Cartoon?
Oh, I thought you were talking about the musical.
No, the animated movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There is a musical now, Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
That's been playing.
I don't think I
don't
think
want
I
to
have it on recording.
Good. However.
Okay. All right, next one.
Anyway, next one I would definitely say is if I'm just looking for a fun theater kid, I'm so excited about musicals. Musical, that for me would be Legally Blonde. Is just like ultimate fun theater kid, just laugh and have a good time. That one's probably my second pick. And then my third pick is my obscure one, which is you know which one I'm gonna do?
No, but that's a good way to do it. Of like popular one, like kind of off the beaten, and then a more obscure. Now I'm rethinking my list.
Well, I had to put Stephen Sondheim somewhere on the list, and I think for me it's going to be Sunday in the Park with George. Is when I just love the music and I love the storytelling, and that one's very near and dear to me. So those are my three.
Very nice. You want to do the true alphabetical? Or
Yes,
do you want to
I'll go.
next?
I'll go. I did the alphabet in my head. I was like, wait, I should go. Okay, so I have to admit, I'm not a big musical fan. Or it's growing on me a little bit. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. I'll say one of my favorites for a long time was Phantom of the Opera. As I learned piano, which I'm still learning piano, one of the first things I ever learned to play was
All I ask of you?
Music of the Night.
Mm.
Yeah, and then so I used to listen to that soundtrack all the time, and then they redid it, and then was it Gerard Butler was the Phantom, and
We
then
don't gotta talk about that.
and it was just that just destroyed my feelings for that. Lion King on Broadway is pretty amazing, like visually. It is just it's pretty entertaining. And then there's a lot of nostalgia along with it, but I think Wicked is up there. The stage production. I think that was the first show that Kat and I ever went to when we first got married, I think. So and she knew I was not really into musicals, so there was a lot of trepidation and a lot of like, I'm not going to enjoy myself. And there were some awkward moments for me where like, we ever sit in like, when you're watching like The Voice or America's Got Talent and like those auditions, and you get like the skin creeping feeling or something, you know?
When they bomb?
Or like you just, it's like, oh, this is just uneasy. That's how I felt like going to the first one, but it's actually really, really good. So yeah, those are my.
Okay. I'd say my number one for sure is gonna be West Side Story. I love. I mean, it's the modern day Romeo and Juliet for one, but also the music. Like, it's hard to beat Bernstein, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to repeat anyone, so it's gonna be tough because Phantom is fantastic. That probably would have been on my list. I might go. I think this is still musical technically, so I might go Candide. as well. Not to repeat the Bernstein pick, but Candide is also, I like the sort of the parable, we'll say, in the story. There's a lot of comedic elements in there too that I dig. Maybe the Full Monty, just because of the genre spread. I think it covers just about every genre that's out there in the music itself. The story, I mean, sure, if you've seen the movie, you know what it is, but it's really, I think the music for that one is, it's unique in how it's done. Like I was kind of bummed we did that at the Boston Conservatory, and I thought, man, this is gonna suck. And then we played it, and it was like, well, this is awesome. This chart's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my three. I'll say West Side Story, Candide, and Full Monty. Zach, what about you?
All right, so I'm going to say for my number three, one of them is You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, mainly because I love a show that is sort of untouchable. Like, there's a lot of musicals where it's like, if you've got the wrong singer, or like you don't have the right actor, or it's not staged very well, the show, like, all of a sudden is not good. It's Charlie Brown. So, like, if your singers can't sing, like, it adds to the quirk. And if it's like poorly staged, it adds to like kind of the cheap aesthetic that we're used to. But then on the other hand, like, if you have actors that are like really funny and like they get the joke and they can sing, like, the show is also very enjoyable. So I like a show that like can really stand on its own merits outside of just like listening to whatever on the track. Because if you listen to like the CD, it's a lot of like singing intentionally out of tune and stuff like that, but it kind of adds to the charm and the wit. And there's just something for me about a show that's just like funny, and then heartwarming, and we're out. I like a short musical. I don't know how this is going to go over for movie musicals. I thought about this a lot, and it broke my heart to leave some of the classics off here. But one of my like favorite movies that I saw in recent memory, it came out last year, or I guess 2 years ago now, because it's 2025, was Wonka. I like went in thinking like this is probably going to be pretty good. Was not a big Chalamet fan, but the songs are all like, it kind of felt very classic in its delivery and not like super, look at our cool people like doing cool stuff. Like, it exploded off the screen for me, but like in a real simple way, if that makes sense. Like, again, it's not like, listen to the best singers in the world, but it's like this very, I like quirky, cute, charming type stuff. So Wonka is one that, again, it was all original songs that, except for Pure Imagination. But aside from that, I enjoy all them. I sing all them. The whole thing's on like my playlist. Wonka, love it. And then the last one, not either of the movies that they've made, but one of my all-time favorite Broadway experiences was Mean Girls. Again, like every song except for like Apex Predator slaps. Every song is like Apex Predator is not that good. Every song is like super fun and cool and like kind of groovy. And then the show in of itself, sometimes when I'm watching Broadway shows, it can be a little bit like, can we get to the songs, please? Like, or they're talking too much. Let's keep it moving. But no, that one, I think it's super funny. I think it does a lot of movie to stage things don't work for me, but that one did. And Mean Girls, y'all, it's good.
I haven't checked that one out before, and I think also I have not seen Wonka, the Timothy Chalamet one, but I might have to check those out now.
Can I just throw a really quick question in there, quick right off the cuff? We mentioned screen to stage. Let's go backwards. What is the worst stage to screen adaptation of a musical that you've seen?
Oh man,
I've already listed mine. Phantom of the Opera. That is number one. I have a close second in my mind right now, but I'll let you guys in.
Cats is a super fun experience on Broadway, but
you might win. You might win with that one.
Yes. I forgot about that one.
I did too.
A lot of people.
I think the studio wanted everyone to forget about that one.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I feel like there's another one out there that's like glaring, but I can't remember.
I know, like Les Mis, the Russell Crowe one is kind of like hot or cold with people.
I think that's gonna be mine, only because I know about some behind the scenes, like Hugh Jackman. a Broadway actor, Hugh Jackman, did not drink water for like
3 days
3
prior
days
to the opening scene.
to be like method. But as a Broadway actor, should know that that's like the worst thing you can do.
You're right, for his voice. Yeah.
You sure he didn't have like a Wolverine shirtless scene coming up? Is that not the thing he was doing?
So I think that's gotta be my pick.
Yeah, Russell Crowe was not it.
I think I got to second the Cats thing. That was.
I forgot how bad Cats was.
It's like
I saw that
it had like
Twitter.
it rode off into the sunset, off Broadway, and then they made a movie, and they just
Right
oof.
right before it came out, my buddy, he said to me, here's the thing about this movie though, we can't lose. He's like there's no way it's just going to be mediocre. Let's go see it because it's either going to be fantastic or awful, and it's not fantastic.
Yeah, definitely not a bad adaptation. I went in expecting to hate Steven Spielberg West Side Story, and I was like, oh, this is great.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Like it was different enough. Somehow Chino was jacked out of his mind. I don't know if did you see the movie at all? Chino was buff, dude.
Yeah.
We're talking like 90s kindergarten cop Arnold build. It was crazy. It's like, what are you doing, bro? All right. So for those that don't know, Zach and Hannah have joined us the last 2 summers doing the musical theater camp at Camp Arnold. So we started with Aladdin Jr., and then this last year we did Little Mermaid Jr. I may or may not have had a starring role. But so Zach, Hannah, just want to get your thoughts on the musical theater camp ministry, maybe some unique opportunities or challenges that it might provide, and just your overall take on the program.
I love that it's something you guys do. I think it's a brilliant way to engage kids who are interested in acting or music, dancing, even interested in behind the scenes production work. I also think it's a great way, especially for the age group that it is, to teach public speaking skills, to teach how to get out of your shell a little bit, be comfortable doing things that you feel are silly or weird, because that is something that is great to have once you're an adult, that experience. But I think the ministry of the week is such a great thing to work so hard on a project together and to pour so much energy, because these kids are really working hard. And we ask a lot of them. Those past 2 years we've been there, we've asked a lot, and they've just gone above and beyond. And I think it's a great opportunity to really come together and make something to be proud of.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool kind of trial by fire too, because a lot of the kids that we talk to, they'll say, this is my first time giving this a shot. So, it is pretty, most musicals that you do, you won't learn in the course of 3 days. So I feel like it's a cool, okay, well, if you enjoyed this experience, when you go do a real musical, it's going to be like a cakewalk for you. So I think like on the one hand of like, the actual preparation for the arts, it's a great way to kind of teach kids about, becoming a director's dream, really, of like being prepared, memorizing your lines quick, learning your blocking fast. And I think it's one of those things, like if you can hang and you can get through that week, you can do most things, because it's like Hannah said, I'm always blown away by how much like they learn, but also like the ministry aspect. In the 2 years we've been there, and I think this does come from the leadership and the expectation that's placed upon them, specifically by you guys, is there's not really like a culture of tearing each other down. Like they lift each other up and they were cheering for each other. Even with the auditions, some of them came up to us early and like, oh, I really want to play, whoever. But when they didn't get the part, they were still cheering and clapping for the other kids. And I think that that's super important too, because, musical theater, it can be really like competitive and really ugly. Like it gets kind of nasty. So the fact that they're learning how to be in a high stress, unrealistically complicated situation while being kind and supportive of one another is super cool.
I think they they had, there's a number, I'm not sure what the amount is, but of, say, reluctant participants, right? Kids that didn't really know that they were going to be doing musical theater that week. This last time around especially, and then just coming in and absolutely killing it as far as their work ethic and the role that they took on. Like Olivia comes to mind. She was there for a different camp, and like, you're gonna do theater instead. Sorry.
Yeah, Adelaide wasn't scheduled to go.
I think there's got to be more too.
Isaiah McCall wasn't scheduled to go.
Jonah didn't know he was going to be playing King Triton, and we brought him in late, and
yeah,
it was just a number of participants that they didn't know that what they were getting into, but man, they took the ball and ran with it.
We got to add a little bit of context because I don't think people know just how difficult musical theater is. Now, you guys do musical theater all the time. About how much time do you spend before, like from beginning to end, from choosing the show, casting, rehearsal, and performance? What's your timeline typically?
Oh, well, so I just did Into the Woods, and that was we did the full version of the show, so 2 acts of the show. I believe when you're actually choosing a show, it takes a little bit longer than one might think, because you have to go through the whole process of licensing and all that. But casting usually takes about a week, because there's you have the original auditions, and sometimes that's over 1 or 2 days, depending on how many people choose to audition. And then you have callbacks, and then sometimes you have second callbacks because you want to see who works well with who. Sometimes you're, trying to see like, all right, who can play friends really well, or who can play enemies really well, like really just trying some things and making sure you see everyone in every opportunity you want to see them in. So when I did Into the Woods, we did the casting in early June, and then we rehearsed about 3 times a week, all of June, July, August, and then our show were the second 2 weeks of September. So we did a full week, 1 full week, weekend included, of tech, which is you're in the theater, you're testing out lights, you're testing out microphones, and that is a really tedious process that takes a lot of focus. So from there, and then you're rehearsing the show with all the lights and costumes and all that, at least 3 to 5 times before the show. And then you've got, we did 2 weekends of shows. So that was from early June to middle of September.
And then like the flip side of that would be something like cast, would be where we audition, we send in a video audition, and then, if you're cast, you get the script in like March, and then your first rehearsal is in June, and then you have 2 weeks of 12-hour-a-day rehearsals where, you've already memorized your lines and like memorized your music. So now it's just like getting it on stage and going. And then we would do like a run where it was like a show or 2 a week for the next like 2 months. So that's a little more what I'm used to. I'm kind of used to the chaotic, like hustle. So yeah.
And for the other side of this context coin, we'll call it, our camp is kids arrive on Monday and your show is up on Saturday morning.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and this is after senior music camp. So this is, which is a 7-day camp, Saturday to Saturday. So these kids have roughly, 28, 30 hours at home before coming back to camp. And from initial casting to show performance is about, or at least dress rehearsal is about 3 days. Because you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then,
So this brings us to our next talking point, which is, given the greatly accelerated schedule, how do you guys navigate that? Has it changed from year to year?
Yeah. So the first year we prepped as much as we thought we could before going out there. And so we went in, and I was familiar with the music. I had kind of choreographed some things. Zach was that's how we kind of divide it, is Zach will block the script portion, and then I'll work with a lot of the music with John's help most of the time. And then block some light dancing for everyone as well. And it was really, once we did for Aladdin Jr., it was once we were there, we were like, okay, some of it you've just got to come up with as you go, which is scary. But we really get into this mindset of there's no time to stress. There's no time to worry. You just have to go in there and just be bold, and whatever idea you get, run with it. And honestly, I would say there was a lot too that came from the actual kids in the show. They would have ideas that we were like, actually, I really like that. Let's go with that. So very collaborative. And then for The Little Mermaid, we did a little more.
Little Mermaid, we had the blessing of, there was a local production that our friends did of Little Mermaid Junior that we got to kind of go and see, and sort of then sit down and take in the show and see, okay, it seems like this needed a lot of work, and this needed a lot of work, and this needed a lot of work. And then we were able to kind of map out, okay, these are the songs that are going to like be the most taxing for the kids. Let's do those first.
Let's focus on those first.
And then like get those out of the way. And then after that, like we have everything else. And also the kind of luxury with Little Mermaid was, having a cast that was predominantly young ladies, and they know The Little Mermaid for the most part. Like they all know Part of Your World and Under the Sea and stuff. So, I mean, that's really helpful. But also, I think, we don't have to come in with like, tough guy attitudes or anything like, we're going to get this done. It's just really like, we can't goof off. Like, I'm not trying to be like tough or cool. Like, I know you're tired, but like,
we're kind of begging. We're like, listen to us.
Yeah. Like,
well, and sometimes there's little things too of, we came with, all right, these are the priorities. These are the things we're going to focus on Tuesday. These are the things we're going to focus on Wednesday. And I think, just having to experience it. And then for the Little Mermaid example, for example, how do you separate what's underwater versus what's on land?
A screen.
But also we chose to incorporate a little more of like the floor this year. So like some of the underwater scenes were like taking place in front of the stage rather than on the stage. And that would be a little more of the like on land stuff. So trying to do as much as we could to separate, like, because the scripts will have little things like that, that's just The Little Mermaid, but any script will have something that you want to make visually engaging, not just with making the script come alive, but practically for like a set. And how do you build this world in such a short amount of time and make it seem like you're inviting everyone into this make believe. Yeah.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that saved the day with this last production was, previous guest of the show, Summer Bussey, because we got to hang out with her like as she was leaving and we were getting in, and she had just done Under the Sea for her musical theater camp and was able to give us a good read on like, oh, hey, like this kid played Sebastian, this kid did this kid did this. Hey, this kid is a delight and a charm to work with. So by the time it came to cast the show, we already had a list of people who we were kind of looking at already. And like they had that time to learn Under the Sea. So it's a matter of, okay, great. That's one less number that we have to do.
Yeah. I think one of the downsides to having it at camp is just the staging, right? They don't have, I mean, we do our best really sound wise and with lighting to kind of create a mood, but we are not equipped like a real performance stage to handle anything. And then, I think last year, the Aladdin carpet ride was on just sitting down on the stage, just, it's like, this is as low budget as you can get, but the staging and everything can get really pricey, and That could probably
Yeah.
blow
Oh,
our budget
yeah.
out of.
For those that don't know, though, we do have an animated background, so it wasn't
Yes.
just simply kids on a stage for a Magic Carpet Ride. There was
Yes.
animated flying through the clouds,
Yeah.
scenery.
Because
But
that's what it would have been.
yeah, otherwise it would have been
So yeah, I think this is one of my dreams is to be able to do it again throughout the year. Just that musical, whatever musical we do. We do one show in the summer. It'd be nice to do it again in like October. Just get them for a weekend, and then sometime in the spring.
Could do scenes actually. That might be a good sustainable idea.
Yeah, it's just time.
Yeah, we'll
There's
come
that.
back out for that weekend. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're around.
Yeah.
Casually.
Yeah.
How do you guys navigate the unknowns? So, like, obviously, you don't know who is going to be there. In some cases, you don't even know these kids. So, how do you navigate casting when you don't even know, like, what to expect?
Yeah, so casting for me, it starts as like in this situation, the most important thing is, do they want to do it? Like if someone's like adamant about like, I really want to play this part, most of the time I'm going to give it more consideration because that's half the battle for like stage fright and stuff like that. And then other times it's getting like a chance to just talk to the kids and seeing like who's agreeable and who's going to listen to you. Like, for instance, like we've been talking about all these kids who don't act, but in conversation, they're just like very pleasant and they're very nice. And so there's something where we're like, okay, they'll do what we're asking them to do. And like are very like, they listen well, they respond well. Great. You're doing the part. So it's one going into it. I think us making sure that we're as approachable as possible. And I mean, we're both big personalities, so just throwing it at them right away. Like, listen, we talk fast, we move fast, we go fast. Like, you got to keep up, and just seeing who's willing to at the top is big.
And we've noticed some little things like with Aladdin, we were struggling to find
Aladdin.
Aladdin, and well, we didn't have many guys that year, so we were trying to figure out, okay, which one should we make Aladdin? And Kobe, who was wonderful and did such a great job, we just saw that he was reading, like before we were starting rehearsal, just sitting and reading through the script, and we were like, all right, he's interested enough to keep reading, so let's do it.
He was reading a script during breakfast. He's in.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, it's just one of those moments where you go with your gut and trust that the Lord's in the midst there. Trust that, we've been, we pray over this before we go, and just knowing that, he's going to bring these kids together and bring us together as well. And Aladdin specifically, Kobe did a great job and brought such a fun flair to the role. So shout out to Kobe. But we just, it's little things like that, just trusting that God's leading us through the casting as well.
And the staff is also huge. Like when we've got the staff that's able to jump in and help with the production. I mean, like, just the villain both years has been like one of the counselors who have just, in addition to, I mean, I think we've done that job more or less, all of us, with like being in that kind of role. And you know how taxing and exhausting it is. And for them to be putting in the work also, like, those are the ones especially where I would get if you were in the back, like, goofing off or whatever. But the fact that they're also memorizing their lines and doing the work is like,
and watching.
It's inspiring
as
to
counselors. Like,
it's inspiring to me too, because I'm like, okay, when we're done directing the show, we take notes, but then like, we're going to Dutch Bros. So it's like they can like come in and like show up and do the work all the time. Like, that inspires me that much more to like give it that extra 10%.
What would be some of your highlights of just musical theater camp? It could be one thing, a couple things, but just maybe from each of us.
I think each would be good. I can go first if you want.
Ooh.
Oh boy.
Well,
Yes.
maybe I should go. No, I'm kidding. But for me, it's going to be such a out there thing. You wouldn't see it coming. The food that Tyler makes on that last day, Woo!
Oh yeah.
That's some extra love right there. Just when there's less people. Oh man, I talk about a real treat.
Okay.
What about you?
I think the final product is the highlight. I think.
Now I sound like a jerk.
Well, you just limited hindsight. Yeah, I just like, I'm the vision guy and the end product guy. Like that's how I tend to see things, and there's a lot of work that obviously went into it, and that goes into the musical, which I don't want to discredit, but just the final product of both years have just been really good.
Yeah.
No, you go first.
Well, I can cite a specific moment, which was I'm actually, so there's two, and they're gonna sound like people are gonna go, really? Those are the two? But there's this one, like we talked about Jonah. He had never acted before, and he's playing King Triton, and King Triton is very boisterous and very loud, and Jonah is very sweet, and he's very kind, he's very nice. And there's this part where he's supposed to destroy Ariel's little grotto and stuff, and he was having a hard time with that. And afterwards, he had the line where he was supposed to say, "I'm just trying to look out for her, Sebastian." And he said the line, and we're like, "Well, try it one more time." But it's you feel bad for what you've just done. Let that sink in. And his delivery, he just said, I just want to look out for her, Sebastian. And I was in the back, yes, where did this come from?
Right.
Just seeing it click with him, and he's like, oh, now it makes sense. And then there were these 6 girls who played Ariel's sister, who just got in lockstep with each other and did extra work on the side to hey, we have more ideas for choreography, and they just loved working with each other. And there's this part at the end where they have to pretend to be these nasty princesses, and just seeing them all laugh and have fun and really go out and do crazy stuff. That was I think about those moments all the time.
Yeah, I think about I love that, because I think about I think about Colette and Rosalind both just coming out of their shells and screaming, and it was such a great moment.
Don't I sound rich?
Yeah.
That's
There's a moment, I think for me, there's a moment after they do the dress rehearsal in front of camp, and then we have the day where we run the show and then have a cast party where they've experienced what it feels like to perform for an audience. And they come in the next morning and they're super excited. Something's changed.
Well, selfishly, it's they saw that we were right during the dress rehearsal.
Yes. Yeah.
They're oh, they weren't kidding.
Well, I like to think there's something about you feel the adrenaline of having an audience who actually starts laughing, and it's not just these 2 crazy people from New York who are laughing at everything. The jokes, and I think that they see what the rush is all about, and they come in and they're excited, and that's probably my favorite part, is because it's probably the most fun day for me, because it's all kind of coming together. We're just running the show, it's all done, and we're just fine tuning everything, and yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I'd have to add a second in that the first year, there were people in the audience, but there weren't as many people in the audience as I think as I expected. With my first year, having musical theater camp, but this last year, we only had 30 or 40 people RSVP via email, and we almost had double that. And then with the camp staff that came, there was almost 100 of them, and they filled the entire back row. So there was a lot of people that actually came to that Saturday show, which was pretty awesome. And for those of you who haven't seen the show yet, you can catch it on YouTube at our Northwest Music and Arts.
Is it up?
It is up. That one,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Yep.
Aladdin and Little Mermaid Jr. have been up now. So if they've yeah. Well, that concludes part 1 of episode 3 with Hannah and Zach Smith. Sorry, and catch us for part 2.
In the heart of the rain and evergreen trees, the mountains meet the sea, a place of peace. Melodies rising like the morning mist. We gather to learn, create, and exist. Beyond the sound, beyond the stage, we lift our voices, turn the page. A symphony of love, unbound. Here in the PNW, we go beyond the sound. From brass to brush, from strings to song, every hand and heart finds where they belong. In every note and color, every line and beat, we build a world where souls can meet. Beyond the sound, beyond the sound, beyond the stage, we lift our voices, we lift our voices, turn the page. A symphony of love, unbound. Here in the PNW, we go beyond the sound. From brass to brush, from strings to song, every hand and heart finds where they belong. In every note and color, every line and beat, we build a world where souls can meet. Beyond the sound, beyond the sound, beyond the stage, we lift our voices, we lift our voices, turn the page. A symphony of love, unbound. Here in the PNW, we go beyond the sound.